North Korea ratcheting up the rhetoric against the president today.
None other than Trump himself is on a suicide mission.
President Trump firing back, tweeting if he echoes thoughts of Little Rocket Man, they won't be around much longer.
He's wanting to confront our adversaries in a way that the previous administration has never done.
The Senate has just 1 week to bring a health care vote to the floor and get it passed.
The reason it's not dead is because it's not finished. The bill hasn't been completed.
Professional athletes blasting the president as he calls them out for protesting the national anthem.
Just kind of beneath, I think, a leader of a country to go that route. It's not what leaders do.
They want to kneel. We could tell them we don't appreciate the disrespect to those who have died in service to this great nation by their kneeling and disrespecting our flag and our national anthem.
Doesn't matter what color you are when you're in Afghanistan and you get killed. You come back in red, white, and blue.
Mrs. Trump met with Team USA as they prepared for the third annual Invictus Games.
You have given so much for your country. You truly are our heroes.
Well, here we go. The song Adventure of a Lifetime. Well, it's going to be quite an adventure today in the NFL.
And the 8th hour of 2 days of you on the couch. We've enjoyed having you here. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thank you. I think I'm going to stay here. After you guys leave, I'm going to stretch out, maybe watch a game or two and see if they even show the countless players that are going to take a knee today in the NFL.
Yeah, and if you're wondering why or if you were going to see more players kneeling, this all started on Friday night when President Trump was in Alabama campaigning for Senator Luther Strange, who's in that heated election against Roy Moore. And as he often does in these stump speeches, he takes it places that you never know it's going to go.
Yep.
And he went there. He went right to the NFL and the players that have been kneeling. And he's been doubling down on this since. He's tweeted out even this morning saying if NFL fans refuse to go to games until players stop disrespecting our flag and country, you will see change take place fast, fire or suspend. NFL attendance and ratings are way down. Boring games, yes, but many stay away because they love our country. League should back the U.S.
That's right. Well, to get comment on it this morning, we're going to bring in Newt Gingrich, former Speaker of the House and 2012 GOP presidential candidate, as well as Fox News contributor and author of the book Understanding Trump. You said the title is Understanding Trump, not Predicting Trump, which is true. No one necessarily could have predicted that he would spark this kind of a confrontation when he spoke those words on Friday. Now tripling down this morning. What do you take of the president's going after the NFL and these folks that won't stand?
Well, look, I think I understand his frustration. Playing the national anthem goes back 155 years. In 1862, during the Civil War, in inaugurating a new baseball park, the first one in Brooklyn, they played the national anthem. We've been playing it ever since at all sorts of sporting events. And it was a unifying theme. It brought us together as Americans. It said, whatever our disagreements as Republicans or Democrats, we all come together to love America, to respect America. And I think for most of us, watching young guys who are multimillionaires explain that the country hasn't been good to them, watching them refuse to honor the symbol of those who have died so that they could be free is very, very frustrating. Watching the NFL leadership, which can worry about things like how many people are demonstrating after a touchdown, but they can't worry about whether or not you should respect the United States of America. I understand why the president did this. You can argue about his particular tactics, but I suspect there are millions of Americans who look at these very arrogant young millionaires. Let's be clear, that's what they are. They're arrogant young millionaires who think that they should now basically inflict their politics in what has been historically a non-political moment. I don't tune into a football game or a baseball game to worry about politics. I tune into it to watch sports and to be entertained, and I frankly find it very offensive because the next stage on the left and the next act of cowardice by big business will be to quit playing the national anthem in order to avoid the confrontation. And I'm doing a course right now called Defending America, and the whole point of the course is the left day by day is undermining and destroying what you and I have thought of as America, and this is an example of that.
That's right. Well, Mr. Speaker, that was my question, actually. You have the gift for seeing things through a historic lens. Are we witnessing now, by this seemingly offhand comment from the president in Alabama, which has opened a national debate between patriotism, what we stand for, and activism, and those that feel oppressed in this country for various reasons across economic and racial lines, are we witnessing a moment that will have great impact going forward?
I think this is the beginning of a very, very big debate that we desperately need. We've watched the left encroach again and again and again on college campuses, at the Emmys, on late-night television with so-called comedians. I mean, over and over again, they have exhibited their dislike of America, their hostility towards America. But again, I want to go back to these young men who are multimillionaires. They're not exactly oppressed. Look, if they want to take all of their after-tax income and give it to a left-wing nutcase group, that's their right as an American citizen. I applaud them. Go ahead and be an active citizen. If they want to go out in the off-season and march with people who I think are crazy, that's fine. But don't, when I'm watching a football game, don't impose on me your sense that somehow, even though you're a multi-millionaire and have opportunities almost nobody on the planet has, you feel oppressed. If you're a multi-millionaire who feels oppressed, you need a therapist, not a publicity stunt.
Yeah, and I think you're speaking for a lot of Americans when you speak about your frustration, how you've been feeling for some time. And this is what the president often does: is he touches things that are very sensitive, that leaders don't often want to touch, that are controversial, that are difficult. Incorrect. But as you said, it's a conversation that needs to be had. So the NFL, many of them are getting behind these players that have decided to kneel. Sure. Bob Kraft is the latest one, the Patriots owner, and he's someone who early on was a supporter of President Trump. He says, "I'm deeply disappointed by the tone of the comments made by the president on Friday. I'm proud to be associated with so many players who make such tremendous contributions in positively impacting our communities. There is no greater unifier in this country than sports, and unfortunately, nothing more divisive than politics. I support their right to peacefully affect social change and raise awareness in a manner that they feel is most impactful." Well, your thoughts on that?
Well, he's got a good writer. Look, I mean, Bob Kraft's a very smart guy. But he noticed that he steps past it. What he just said at the end of his paragraph is what condemns the players that are doing this. That sports should be a unifying thing, politics is a divisive thing. Well, why is the NFL allowing politics to now be on the playing field? As I said a while ago, the NFL doesn't mind stepping in to say you can't have more than one player celebrating a touchdown. They'll give you a penalty for doing that. Okay?
Well, on top of that,
well, all they got to do is say to the players, be respectful of the national anthem and the flag on behalf of the many Americans who have died defending your right to become a millionaire. And if you can't be respectful, don't come on the field until after they've had the opening ceremony.
Not to mention the example of the Dallas Cowboys. They wanted to place decals or stickers on their helmet after 5 Dallas police officers were assassinated, and the NFL said, no, you can't do that. I mean, why Roger Goodell, as he sits in his loft over here making decisions from on high, why can't he see that common sense perspective that we play a game for a living, this country affords us that opportunity, we know you have but this is a workplace, and inside this workplace and inside those lines on Sunday, respect your country and stand up and play, and if you want to protest the other 6 days of the week, you can do that. Why can't they take that approach?
Because the elites will never take on the left. The elites will never take on their social friends who are on the left. And watch what I just said. If we allow this to go down this road, presently their answer will be, let's avoid the problem by no longer playing the national anthem. I mean, that's the direction. That's the direction they'll go in to appease the most disruptive, the most left-wing, the most anti-American.
Yeah, but what is that going to do to viewership, Speaker? What is that going to do to the NFL viewership?
Well,
we already have polls showing that people are not watching anymore because, in many cases, people say because of the kneeling.
Well, I think the NFL leadership has a real challenge now. If they decide they're going to side with those, and again, I want to reemphasize, we're not watching, college students or people in poverty. You're watching people who have been made millionaires by America, people who have lives of extraordinary opportunity. You would think they'd be a little bit grateful to the country, which has protected them, made them wealthy, given them freedom. And again, I don't have any problem if they want to be totally left-wing and give money to left-wing candidates. That's fine with me. But I don't think they should have the right to break up what has been since 1862 a national tradition. Think about it. 155 years we've been playing the national anthem at sporting events. Yeah. And now these guys are the first step towards driving the national anthem out of modern society.
Mr. Speaker, it's not just the NFL, it's also the NBA. Yesterday, I mean, Stephen Curry had said for a long time, I don't think I want to go to the White House. Well, President Trump saw that he had made those statements and then tweeted out, well, I guess you're uninvited. The Golden State Warriors the next day put out a statement alongside with Steph Curry saying this. The Golden State saying, we're not going to the White House. We believe there is nothing more American than our citizens having the right to express themselves freely on matters important to them. In lieu of a visit to the White House, we've decided that we'll constructively use our trip to the nation's capital in February to celebrate equality, diversity, and inclusion, the values that we embrace as an organization. I mean, equality, diversity, and inclusion, it reads like a left-wing rap sheet. I mean, why take this approach?
First of all, didn't they just win a championship?
Yeah.
What's equal about winning a championship? They're not equal. They were number one. They're proud to be number one.
Well, and are there women in the NBA, Mr. Speaker? What about the WNBA? Why do they have a separate league? That's not equal.
I'm just saying that you get all of this left-wing rhetoric, but the fact is, what has made America extraordinary is that we reward winners. I mean, all the guys who are complaining in the NFL are winners. Now, otherwise, they wouldn't be on the field. The guys that are complaining in the NBA are winners. So when they talk about equality, I'd like to know, do they think maybe somebody once said we ought to take the Super Bowl, the Lombardi Trophy, and each week it goes to a different team so that even the worst team in the league at least gets it for 1 week so they feel better about themselves. I mean, that's sort of where the left carries you to with their version of equality. There shouldn't be any winners and losers. Well, the essence of sports is that there are winners and losers. That you got to go out and study hard, work hard, practice hard, and that the best of you should win, and we should then recognize you as winners. So, in a way, that's kind of a funny press release.
Mr. Speaker, let's talk about hypocrisy. Remember Tim Tebow? He took a knee for very different reasons. Are we looking at hypocrisy here, the way he was viewed, taking that knee, praising his faith in Jesus Christ?
Of course you are, because you have an elite which is essentially anti-religious and will not take on the hard left. As I said earlier, one of the things I've done is I'm developing an entire course online called Defending America, because I concluded that unless we're prepared to take issues like this and tell the truth, I mean, the average American doesn't realize we've been doing this since 1862 during the Civil War. There's a deep American tradition, which I was very proud of, and which I feel very sad to watch this handful of people begin to break up. And I feel really sad at the cowardice of people like Roger Goodell, who are going to preside over the decay of American institutions rather than take on young players who, as I said earlier, are multimillionaires and are among the most privileged people in America.
You get to the heart of it, Mr. Speaker. It used to be left-right, and we agreed on these comments. And now the left has gone so far left that conservatives are left just defending the very nature of America.
But you know what? You also make a great point in that we have to have these conversations, right? We have to talk about this. These are not easy. They're sensitive, they're difficult, but they have to be had. And we've got to find a way to come together. Speaker, really great perspective this morning. Good to have you on this morning.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
All right, moving on now to a Fox News alert. Crisis in Puerto Rico, the island devastated by Hurricane Maria, still in danger this morning. Geraldo Rivera is on that island. He flew there overnight just to get there for our show, and he's live in San Juan next.
And the president says NFL owners should fire players who protest the national anthem. What do these former players think about that? AC Tillison, Nate Boyer, and Burgess Owens are all live straight ahead. Back with a Fox News alert. President Trump stepping up efforts to help Puerto Rico just days after an historic Category 4 hurricane slammed into the island.
Geraldo Rivera is live in Puerto Rico, taking a closer look at the devastation left behind. Geraldo, it's heartbreaking what we have seen happen there, and I know it's a close one to you. What are you seeing on the ground?
You know, Abby, I've been coming to Puerto Rico my entire life. We have a large part of the Rivera clan that still lives on the island. Many have moved to Florida and New York and other places in the continental U.S. But I have substantial numbers of relatives, aunties, uncles, cousins, and so forth. They, as middle-class people, live in the concrete houses. They're luckier than most. They were prudent. They stocked up on food and on water and on fuel. But after several days of emergency rations, so to speak, they're running low on everything. we still have not heard from the remote corners of this island. And I have to tell you that to look at the big international airport behind me, folks have to know that this is the hub of the Caribbean. This airport is usually bustling with commercial air traffic. There is absolutely none. The only aircraft on that tarmac are from the Air National Guard. They're all being coordinated through Georgia, the Georgia Air National Guard. Big C-130s, transport planes like the one I came in on last night, are bringing in water and other necessary supplies. But it's absolutely crucial that the ports reopen. 3.4 million people here. Can you imagine that they are without electricity? They are without running water. The sanitation, the sewage system has been damaged. The infrastructure of the island deeply scarred by this historic storm as it came and raked this island from east to west. It was a direct hit. It's been almost 100 years since Puerto Rico had anything like that. As a result, in the big cities like in San Juan, the modern buildings which withstood the storm fairly well, like this hotel where we are, the Marriott, and yet the facades were peeled off as if by some giant clawing at the bricks and stripping them clean. You know, the dam is fractured. We are worried that will absolutely rupture and flood downstream. This is an island in extremis. This is an island in dire need. This is an island that I am delighted that President Trump has directed his compassion and the compassion of the federal government, because they will need it. They sorely need it. This island has been devastated by this historic storm. Back to you in New York.
All right, Geraldo, our thoughts and our prayers are with you, your family, and everyone on the ground there. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Geraldo.
All right, just moments ago, another Republican senator delivers a blow to any hope of repealing and replacing Obamacare. Utah Senator Mike Lee is undecided. He is joining us live to react. That's straight ahead.
And the president says NFL owners should fire players who protest the national anthem. Our panel of former players is here to discuss. You don't want to miss this. This is very important.
About 25 minutes now after the hour, time for some quick headlines. The war of words between the U.S. and North Korea intensifying overnight. President Trump firing back after a forceful speech by the communist country's foreign minister, tweeting this: if he echoes thoughts of Little Rocket Man, they won't be around much longer. The post comes after North Korea's foreign minister told the UN hitting the U.S. with one of its missiles was inevitable. And there's this: a Black Lives Matter protest ends with 22 people arrested. Demonstrators flooding a St. Louis mall after a not guilty verdict in an officer-involved shooting. The mall was forced to close until things eventually calmed down. Pete, take it away.
Thanks, Abby. Well, President Trump saying that professional football players who protest the national anthem should be fired by their ownership. And now athletes, celebrities, and activists are launching a nationwide movement to kneel for the anthem in defiance of the president. Here to weigh in, our football panel, former football star A.C. Tellison, stars themselves in the plural, A.C. Tellison, Nate Boyer, and Burgess Owens, who's also the author of Liberalism, or How to Turn Good Men into Whiners, Weenies, and Wimps. So, Burgess, I'm going to start with you then. You played for the Jets and for the Raiders. You were on the sideline during the national anthem. How should players be thinking about this? Is the national anthem an appropriate place to start, and should ownership be cracking down on this?
Well, thank you very much. First of all, this never in the history of our country have black athletes had the power to influence the way they do today. They're making literally collectively billions of dollars every single year, and the best we can do is take a knee. My suggestion, as we stand up, we do three things. Black men in this country need to succeed honestly. They need to be thankful to God and the country allows us to do this, and then teach our young men to succeed honestly. We do that, then we're doing what we need to do, and that's what the flag stands for. So let's stop putting down the country and the culture that's given us the opportunity to become millionaires, literally, and do the things we can do today.
Nate, you played for the Seahawks, but also have the distinction of serving in Iraq and Afghanistan as well. So you've got a dual perspective. When you look at athletes paid millions of dollars to play a game, is this appropriate? And when you look at the ownership, if you're on one of those teams, would you like to see an owner that would step up and say, hey, on my team, we stand?
No, I wouldn't like to see that, and because I want every American to have those rights. That's the rights I fought for. Whether I agree with it or not is a totally different thing. You know, I've heard a lot lately too about this talk about, you know, it's just a piece of cloth. It's just a piece of cloth. I don't see the big deal, but it's not just a piece of cloth. You know, that American flag, it represents everyone in this country. It doesn't just represent the president, and you know, we wouldn't burn it. People wouldn't burn it if it didn't, you know, mean something and, you know, elicit such emotional reactions. We wouldn't fly it everywhere in this country, including prisons and schools and, you know, not just the White House, if it didn't mean something more. We wouldn't drape it over fallen heroes' coffins if it wasn't the most important piece of cloth to this country. So I just want everyone to understand that, especially these players, that, you know, it hurts me. I hate seeing it every time. I hate seeing sitting. I hate seeing kneeling. But at the same time, it is absolutely their right. I'll continue to fight for that right. I fight for every American, just like every soldier does, whether they agree or not.
Is there anything the NFL should say, though? Just quick follow-up, Nate. I mean, there's a lot of frustration that they're just saying, hey, it's open season, as opposed to a recognition that this is such a passionate thing for so many people who love their country.
Yeah, I mean, we just need to understand where this tradition comes from during sporting events, but also this is supposed to be a unifying moment. You know, not just in sports, just with our country. Whenever we play this song and raise the colors, it's supposed to be a unifying moment. But if people believe that things are not going the way that they believe they should be going, and they want to stand up or take a knee and raise a fist and act out about it, I understand that. I don't necessarily want to see that, but I understand.
AC Tellison, you were drafted by the Browns. A lot of the images we're showing on the screen right now are Cleveland Browns players taking a knee. You know, where does the taking of the knee end? If everyone who had a grievance with this country took a knee, we would all be kneeling because it's an imperfect country. We know that. But if we also know we get to play a sport in a country like this, can you understand the frustration of, say, Browns fans who say, I don't want to see this at a football game?
Well, I understand the frustration of the Brown fans, but you also got to understand the frustration of the players and why they're taking the knee. This is not anything to do with the flag or they don't love their country. They're drawing attention to something that is happening in this country that they feel they're unjust. So I think we should all take a step back and not make it about the flag, about the military, about the love for this country. Let's make it about why these players are taking
Who's making it about the flag, though, AC? If you decide to make your protest during the national anthem while we're literally soldiers are saluting a flag, you're making it about the flag. Find another day.
It's a peaceful protest.
Find another day.
It's a peaceful protest. As a right of Americans, we have the right for a peaceful protest. Now, if they were burning flags, if they're jumping around and dancing during this time, they're taking a knee, a peaceful protest to bring attention to what they see as unjust.
Burgess, you know, but yet a guy like Colin Kaepernick, who's in many ways started all this, wore socks that depicted, you know, cops as pigs. So this isn't just a, you know, hey, we're taking a knee out of respect. This is, you know, we're going to depict law enforcement officers that way. Then we're going to take a knee and expect you to like it. Do you expect owners to be, some owners to be coming down on this? What do you think?
Yeah, let me tell you what our responsibility, and every generation has done this throughout the history of our country, is to give our kids more hope than we had. My parents' generation, my grandparents' generation succeeded. That's how they fought racism. We have the greatest country and the most freedom today, and we have more people, particularly Black Americans, who have less hope. And that's because they have very successful men telling them that they can do it, but the Black Americans can't do it. It's really time for us to stand up as men and say, listen, guys, this country gives us everything we want to. I did it. You can do it too. And stop the whole thing of, if you don't want to, if you want to have demonstrate someplace else, but not against our flag that gives us the freedom to be the greatest country and the greatest people in the history of mankind.
Nate, just last question here. You know, 6 days a week, 21 hours out of that seventh day, NFL players are not playing a game that's nationally broadcast on national television. Why not pick another moment, another hour, use those Twitter feeds, all the power that so many of these athletes have to raise those issues? Why do you got to do it while I'm watching? Because as a fan, I'm ready to turn it off. I'm a diehard Vikings fan. I'm prepared to turn it off if Vikings start kneeling. That's a real problem for the NFL.
Yeah, and I think you're in the same boat as a lot of people. A lot of people are turning it off, and they don't want to see it anymore because they're ready for action. We're all ready for action. I mean, if you're going to make such a strong stance against something or for something, there's got to be a lot of action behind it, and we need to see that. And you need to be posting about that stuff and sharing that so we know what's actually happening. That's where I'm going to keep pushing guys that, I still get coaches, management, players reach out to me about their protest or what's going on and ask my advice. And I'm like, look, if you're not taking action, if you're not doing something to embrace those law enforcement officers who that's a very hard job. Being a cop in America is one of the hardest jobs in the world right now.
Yeah.
If you're not embracing them and the ones that do it right, along with those people in the community that you want those relationships to start happening, if you're not a part of that, then it's an empty protest.
Well, NFL locker rooms would be a very, very interesting place to be this morning. More politics being discussed probably than usual. AC Tellison, Nate Boyer, and Burgess Owens, thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, could the anthem protests end up costing the league at the ticket office? Maria Bartiromo on the potential financial impact for the NFL coming up. And just moments ago, another Republican senator dealing a blow to the chance of repealing and replacing Obamacare. Utah Senator Mike Leas says he's undecided. He's going to join us live to give us his perspective next.
And we are back with a Fox News alert just moments ago. Breaking, we are hearing from two of the three senators still undecided on the Republican plan to replace Obamacare and how they plan to vote.
If you look at that graphic right there, the GOP needs all three of those seats after John McCain sided with the Democrats. One of them belongs to Susan Collins of Maine, who spoke out moments ago on another channel.
It's very difficult for me to envision a scenario where I would end up voting for this bill. I have a number of serious reservations about it. What I am doing is, as is my general practice, is I would like to see the Congressional Budget Office analysis, which is expected to come out tomorrow morning.
So she's leaning no, and we also are hearing from Senator Rand Paul. My sources telling me that, remember, Rand Paul was against it because it didn't go far enough in repealing and replacing Obamacare. But he specifically is going to lay out his three sort of points, which is that Obamacare spending reduction, Obamacare, Graham Cassidy gives away some $1 trillion that Obamacare was spending. He wants that reduced. He wants the regulations waived, and he wants the health association plans that was crafted in the House to be debated in the Senate before he is going to go for it. We are fortunate to have Senator Mike Lee here to react with it, an author of Written Out of History. Senator, what say you?
Well, I'm going to remain committed to repealing Obamacare, to freeing the American people from the oppressive effects of this law that has made health care less affordable for so many millions of American families. I think it's something that we should have gotten done in January. The fact that it's not done now is still a great source of great frustration. I'm determined to continue to work until this job is done.
What happens from here? Because let's say this deal is dead. The deadline is, what, September 30th. Where does it go from here? Because a lot of people, they are wanting a change. They want to see this law repeal and replace, as you know. But can Republicans, is this sort of the end of it, of their chance to get their type of deal done?
I don't think it's the end of it. Now, Abby, you point out we've got 6 days until the current reconciliation instructions run to ground. That said, I don't think we can view this as the end of the process. I do, however, think we've got a unique opportunity during this next 6-day period to try to get something passed. I'm working with my colleagues, spent the whole day on the phone yesterday talking to colleagues and people at the White House. I want to make sure we pass something, and something that provides meaningful reform from these oppressive regulations that are making health care unaffordable. And we want to put health care decisions back in the hands of patients and doctors rather than having them made for them by government bureaucrats in Washington.
Help me out here. You heard what Griff just talked about with Senator Rand Paul. He was on the previous bill, the skinny bill. He was waffling till the end. Then he voted for it. A lot of policy experts look at that bill and feel like it's weaker than this one. So why at this moment is he bucking that trend and saying, I won't even sign on to an incremental improvement? You're both principled guys. You know, what would be your message to him and why he's waffling?
Well, I think he has concerns about government spending and wanting to make sure that we don't take one form of subsidy under Obamacare and incorporate it into another form of subsidy through a block grant. I suspect that's what he would say if he were here. But look, he and I agree on a number of issues. It's one of the reasons why I'm determined to work with him and with all my other colleagues to find something that he and at least 49 others among us can vote for so that we can get it to President Trump's desk.
So where are you now, Senator? Are you a yes or are you a no?
I'm still a maybe because the bill is still itself a moving target. Look, if they can demonstrate to me that this provides meaningful regulatory reform so that states can decide on their own to undertake measures that will bring down the cost of health care, then I might well get there as a yes. I haven't ruled that out, but I also have yet to see text that has been changing over the last 72 hours.
But, Senator, just one quick follow-up on that. This is the last chance under budget reconciliation to pass this, and we hear from one of our holdouts, Senator Rand Paul, saying that this does not reduce the spending of Obamacare. Is it fair to say that really, even though we're holding out hope, this is probably dead on arrival?
I'm not willing to make that concession. Look, the clarity provided by a deadline is unlike anything else. I'm still confident we can get there, but we've got to continue to work hard. We've got to continue to do everything we can to make good on the promise that Republicans have made for the last 7 years. Look, every Republican who's campaigned for any federal office over the last 7 years has done so on a platform of repealing Obamacare. I wish we would keep going back to that message and stay focused on that, even if all that means is we take the whole thing down and then start over from there on what comes next.
That was supposed to happen in January, as you said.
We will be watching this
Indeed, but better
closely.
late now than never.
Yeah. Senator Michael Lee from my home state of Utah. Great to have you on the show this morning.
Now to a Fox News alert. This is just moments ago in the first NFL game of the day in London. Several players on the Jaguars and Ravens, they're playing each other, it happened in London. They kneeled throughout the national anthem. You can see that there are visuals of, it looks like dozens of players in this game as it's happening. We're going to bring that to you next.
And we knew that was coming. Now it has come to pass. Could the NFL ticket sales end up taking a big hit because of the national anthem protest? Maria Bartiromo on the possible financial impact coming up next. Nobody better to talk to.